Screen fades into show of vintage 8mm film reel starting and flickering on the screen. Countdown clock begins with 8 and reduces by one number on each beat. View transitions to a large webcam powering up and pointing at the viewer. View pans to a computer station with 4 monitors that show the logo for the Volunteer Cafe webinar series. Camera zooms in on a soundboard and then follows a boom microphone from the base to the mic. Video transitions to a top view of 2 computer screens with another microphone sitting between them as the perspective zooms to a close-up of the microphone. Image of the Volunteer Cafe logo appears on screen.
Welcome to the Volunteer Cafe webinar series, brought to you by the University of California 4-H Youth Development Program. The Volunteer Cafe is an authentic, bold, and rich blend of dynamic, robust, and thought-provoking demonstrations and presentations designed to inspire, educate, and unite 4-H volunteers. Each episode serves a hot, refreshing, and relevant helping of programming ideas designed to foster creativity and innovation. I'm Scott Maudie, and I will be your host. So pull up a chair, grab a cup of your favorite cafe beverage, and let's dive into today's episode. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's holiday edition of the Volunteer Cafe. I'm Scott Maudie, the series producer and engineer, and I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Just a couple of housekeeping activities as we begin. After the webinar, I'll be uploading a list of all the resources from tonight's session, including a recording of this session. This may take a little bit longer with the holiday season, but it'll be up within a month or so. Also, the website has a list of all our previous cafes as well. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature or the chat feature during the webinar, and then it'll help just us compile all your questions so that Emily can answer it later on. Tonight's facilitator is Emily Watson. Emily is a dedicated 4-H alumni, parent, and volunteer who also serves as a 4-H staff. With a background in expanded learning, she has worked with the YMCA and Boys and Girls Club to support youth development programs. As a STEAM advisor and an instructor with the Dibble Institute, Emily is passionate about equipping young people with the skills they need to thrive both academically and personally. So without further ado, let me turn things over to Emily to guide us through tonight's cafe.
Hi, everybody. Like Scott said, my name is Emily Watson, and I currently serve as the 4-H education specialist for San Bernardino County in Southern California. If you do not know, that is one of the largest counties in the United States. My connection to 4-H runs deep. Beginning as a youth member, I eventually evolved into becoming a 4-H parent, then an adult volunteer. Then I was on the VMO board for our county, and now I'm staff, which I've held for almost 3 years. I was born into a large family of Mexican immigrants in a small Kansas town, and that experience has shaped my perspective and fueled my passion for community engagement. Today, I'm excited to share with you because this work has become my calling, and I strongly believe in the power of building community and fostering understanding beyond one's immediate family, particularly for the youth who navigate the unique challenges of balancing American culture with their ethnic heritage. So how we got started. Claudia, who some of you may know, was our academic 4-H advisor for San Bernardino and Riverside counties. She was born in Mexico, and after college came here and began her work with 4-H. At that time, I was just a 4-H parent And, I had no clue what an academic advisor was. But during that time, she had business to conduct at the Consulate of Mexico. And during one visit, she had a pivotal moment while waiting in the waiting room. She had one of those light bulb moments. So the Consulate of Mexico is in San Bernardino, which is the county seat of our county. And while waiting for her appointment, she observed numerous children accompanying their parents, and she recognized an opportunity to use 4-H programs to engage youth in exploring and connecting their own culture and heritage. She also noticed that many families struggled and had brought kids during school hours, or they had kids that had trouble with English as a second language. Obviously, our 4-H mission is to help youth find their sparks. And if you don't know that's what sparks are, that is the new term that we are using for helping kids find their interests or passions. So we want to help those youth through these programs find their spark within their culture and further learn about their sparks in a hands-on learning environment. So as I mentioned, San Bernardino County is one of the largest counties. We have 34 school districts with 563 schools. In those schools, there are 396,860 students, and out of all those kids, 60,035 are English language learners. So why is this important? Our goal is to grow the 4-H program, right? And we want to make it more inclusive. We want to help our members discover their sparks, those things that excite them, and we want them to be confident in themselves. This is about building a program where every student can feel seen, valued, and inspired. Now, I got this data from eddata.org. It shows our state information, and you can go down all the way down to your county and find out how many schools, what kind of schools, what other English language learners there are. And I'm not sure if it's outside of California, but it's definitely in California. So I'll always check that out, and you'll be surprised how many informational breakdowns there are in there. So there was an extensive research in this field, and there has been 5 key areas of need that were identified. And we're going to go through them all. If you have questions, please wait till the end. The first one is integrate extended understandings of youth development. So Latino youth have developmental needs that are going unmet. This includes under-resourced schools, poorly developed or non-existent youth support infrastructures, high incarceration rates, single-parent households, severe poverty, no established Latino communities, and diversity among Latino groups. This diversity includes length of U.S. residence, national and region of origin, immigration status, language, education levels, and religion. From there, it goes into talking about support positive ethnic identity development and how it faces structural and cultural challenges. This includes cultural dimensions of immigration, generation or nativity status, language, discrimination, poverty, navigating new social, cultural, and institutional ideas, understanding individuals and emotions regarding the meaning and importance of racial and ethnic backgrounds. This includes family relationships, extended family, and ethnic communities. When we talk about contending with physiological and social effects of discrimination, we want to talk about the Latino youth facing individual, organizational, and societal forms of discrimination based on race, language, cultural, national, or indigenous group background, immigration status, economic poverty. This also includes experiences of intra and inter-ethnic discrimination. There is a tie of discrimination and stress between discrimination in physical, educational, and mental health, and it links it to higher risk behaviors like substance abuse, incarceration, and attempts of suicide. So moving on to responding to economic poverty. In California, over 25% of Latino youth are growing up in families with annual earnings below the federal poverty line. Now, pre-COVID, 70% of the county in San Bernardino qualified for free or reduced lunches. And while the majority of Latino kids are now born here, they're still children of immigrants, and vast majority of Latinos have low-paying, low-skilled positions, or they have unstable agricultural jobs, meaning that their families are separated for long periods of time, or those kids are constantly moving and don't have a normal class schedule, so they're not attending the same school in the same classroom with the same teacher from August to June. The fifth area, acting upon diversity of local and regional Latino youth experience. This includes things like how we should consider ethnic identity to be an asset to be cultivated. We want to focus on having pride in our heritage. We want to learn group histories. We want to participate in cultural activities. We want to make sure that the power of accepting oneself and our tradition allows for connection to ancestors' healing and growth. So this is an sample of a resource map. You've got a blank map to fill with current needs in your area. And while today we are discussing our work with the Latino community because it is our biggest minority, once you go to the eddata.org, it will break it down on how many different minorities that you'll have in your community. So the top English language learners in San Bernardino County are Arabic, Mandarin, Spanish, Cantonese, Vietnamese, and Tagalog. Now, when I say that these are our top ones, these are the amount that have enough kids that they have broken it down to say there are this many kids that speak this language. So what I want you to do is think about the city or town you live in and think about the largest minority population. And with your blank worksheet, we're going to go through from the bottom left, so the cultural heritage, we're going to go around the top and end at community festivals and events. So when we want to think about filling out this map, what you're going to think about is we're going to talk about where to find resources on how to find information about that culture. If you're not part of this culture, this map will help you find any resources that you may need to put your day camp together. So our cultural heritage, any rites of passages, special holidays, gatherings, artistic traditions, agricultural knowledge, any recipes that may have an event in your community, physical spaces, so gardens, parks, playgrounds, walking paths, preserves, camping, fishing spots. I will say in my little town, we live in the desert where a lot of Native Americans have passed through. So we have lots of different monument spots where they have signs explaining what tribes went through where, how they use this land, and why it's a significant cultural spot. So any place like that. When we want to talk about businesses, I have on here Spanish language media, but because we live in California, there are lots of local language medias. I know there's like Korean, Chinese, Japanese, just different spots like that where they'll have radio, television, maybe of a podcast, something like that that will give you information. Always check your chambers of commerce. My little town has 5 different ethnic chambers of commerce, so always check with them. Any local business associations, restaurants, food trucks, specialized stores, travel agencies, banks or credit unions. Those smaller banks always have local ties to the community. Farmers markets and any small-owned, family-run local businesses. For cultural settings, we want to think about churches, special gatherings, cultural group performances. I know in San Bernardino, they put all kinds of banners and things across the street to advertise Native American powwow days. We have lots of things going on. I know in my town, we have something probably twice a month. They hit all of the special occasions, even had a Pokemon Go day. So always check those different settings and events. You can find most things on your city or county websites. For institutions, you want to look at schools and after-school programs. If your county or town has a university or a community college, always check those. Librarians are very good resources, or if they don't know the question, they can find you a book that will have that answer, right? Community-based organizations, museums, your local government, social service agencies. When we think about individuals, anybody like elders, parents, youth leaders, youth workers, anybody that's respected in the community, program leaders, artists, business owners, extended family networks, and informal community leaders. So I will mention this again later, but I had a friend in high school whose parents are Egyptian. They came from Egypt, and they were very excited to participate in this program that we had. Associations. So any hometown associations, unions, your neighborhood association like Neighborhood Watch, your HOAs, business association, health and fitness groups, any cultural groups, advocacy networks, heritage groups, hobby and collector groups. Those are good ones. Charitable groups, nonprofits like us, political organizations, and veterans and youth groups. Now we're going to go to the last box, which is our community festivals and events. Those are going to be things like sports tournaments, health fairs, any specific local gatherings. Like I said, Native American powwow days if you're near a Native American tribe. Or maybe you have a big ethnic community and they're having a special event. Does anybody have any questions? We're going to take some time to fill out our map. Okay, so now that you have this map and it's all filled out, what do we do with it? We want to go out and gather our resources. So it is almost 2025, and maybe you know of that local grocery store or that business, but you don't know how to get in contact with them. So this is where Google comes in. You can do a quick Google search and find some contact information for your resources. And this is the important thing. You'll want to make a list and write it down. You can write it down. You can use an Excel sheet. You can use a Google Doc with just a simple table, whatever is easiest for you. But you want to write down when you talk to them, who you reached out to, and what the outcome is, because we don't want to pressure people into doing something they don't want to do. So if they tell you no, it means no, right? And we want to, scratch that resource off the list and move to the next one. We want to make sure that the people that we have that come and speak to their kids are really passionate about it and they want to be there, and that will make the kids more engaged. Okay, so on to day camps. We're going to talk about merging research and practice. Now, when I say we, I'm going to say we as in 4-H staff. However, I did not get started on this project until about 3 years ago. And we actually started it in 2017. So in 2017 at the Mexican consulate in San Bernardino, we started our day camp from Monday through Friday, and we decided to have it in the morning, so from 9 to 12. That first year, we focused on pre-Hispanic cultures, things like Mexican Independence Day, Day of the Dead, and holiday traditions. In 2018, we started to include regions of Mexico and modern Mexico. And the reason why we focused on modern Mexico was to show those kids who have never been to Mexico that it's more than just tumbleweeds and shacks and donkeys, right? We wanted to get rid of that stereotype. We wanted to show them that it is a thriving society and not some poor, desolate country. In 2022, we included crafts and games of Mexico, and in 2023, we focused on states. Each day, the kids learned about one state. They learned about the food, the culture, what they're known for, and anything else of interest. So, for example, the state of Jalisco is known for their military academy there. Every day, we would show a video about what that state is kind of known for, just a quick 2 to 5 minute video. And in that particular Jalisco video, it showed them talking about the military academy. In 2024, we included guest speakers from the community, people like healthy living advocates. We had a lady come and teach Zumba. We had financial people come and talk about the importance of savings. And we had the head of the consulate come and talk about what they do at the consulate, the day-to-day operations, and why it's an important place to exist. We also had people and other nonprofits come and showcase different arts that have a history from Mexico. Before my career with 4-H started and I became a staff person, I was working with boys and girls of Greater Redlands Riverside, and I worked in low-income housing. And I saw a need. So partnering with 4-H, we modeled our day camps for the summer, and we made them into a cultural 1-week day camp, and we tailored it to each site. So because I do live in one of the biggest counties in the country and with a very, very big diverse audience, we put together our 1-week program. We've had them specialize from Muslim culture to Chinese, Ethiopia, hidden disabilities, Egypt, and Samoan cultures. And from there, we brought in guest speakers, we brought in business partners, and we brought in history and activities that correlate to those cultural ideas. So like I mentioned during our resource map, I did go to high school with a friend. He is now a doctor. His parents are big in our community, big activists, real estate agent. So his mom came and talked about the culture and the difference from moving from Egypt to America, what their struggles were, what their successes were. And she even taught the kids how to make Egyptian spice cookies, so an authentic Egyptian recipe, and the kids loved it. And she was so excited to share her story. Okay, so why is ethnic identity consideration important? It's important because we want the staff to share their background with the participating youth. If a kid has a problem, from outside of the day camp and they don't know how to handle it, they're going to want to have they're going to want to have somebody to tell and somebody who's going to be able to relate to them. So, I don't know about you, and you don't have to raise your hand, but you can. How many of us have been told to come back to where we came from? Because I can raise my hand on that. And it's important to know that the staff be able to say, hey, it's okay to be upset. It's not right that you were told this, but this is how I dealt with it. Or maybe I didn't deal with it in a good way, but I should have, and this is how I should have dealt with it, right? So we want to meet them at their level, and we want them to know that they are not alone. I was told that at 16, and I had no clue what to do with that information because I grew up in a small town in Kansas, and my dad is from Mexico. So I was like, You want me to go back to to Kansas? I don't get it. But, I should have said something. I didn't. I didn't know that, I didn't know how to deal with it. And it would have been nice to have somebody there to be like, hey, not okay. And who said that? And, we need to take care of this. But we're going to do better for our future generations, right? We also want to create an intentionally bilingual space. That way we have at least one staff person or volunteer who speaks the language. They can translate for those kids who have trouble following in English. And we also want to listen to the youth interest and incorporate their ideas. A lot of times they've been told certain historical facts and maybe they want to dive more deeply into them. We want to have guest speakers from the local ethnic communities, and this is where our resource map comes into play because from there we can reach out and have guest speakers from those communities, and that maybe are specialists in the fields that the kids want to learn more about. They also can share their experiences, they can share their successes, and they can share their failures. Not everybody who moves here is successful the first time around. So, they want to share their story of getting up and dusting themselves off and trying again. Okay. So, most of you are 4-H volunteers, either as community club leaders or project leaders. And we can put together a 6-hour project with meetings worth of activities and interest. Project number 1 will cover geography with basic facts and history. Project meeting number 2 would be local cuisines, food systems, agriculture. Project number 3 would be holidays and religions. Project number 4 would be arts and crafts. And then project number 5, any popular children's stories, artists, any famous people. Not necessarily famous, but kind of maybe inventors or somebody who they don't think is, that's in their day-to-day educational background. And then we want to round out that project meeting with maybe a field trip to a museum or a culturally significant place. So, for example, one of our field trips, we went to Olvera Street in downtown Los Angeles, where we learned about the history of LA and its history with the Latino culture. We ate dinner, we walked through the museum, so we talked a lot about what we saw and how things have changed for us. We also, learned those life skills like buying metro tickets, and that was a struggle even for me because I usually drive everywhere. So it's the little things like that become memorable and make them even stand up a little bit more prouder. So our day camp option on the next slide is our camp that lasts Monday through Friday. They're usually 3 hours long. They allow for field trips as possible. And in the past, we've done anywhere from 2 weeks to 5 weeks at day camp. I'm going to be real honest here, and I don't suggest 5 weeks at day camp. It's a lot. It's a lot for the kids. It's a lot for the parents, and it's a lot for the volunteers. I think we found our sweet spot between 2 and 3 weeks, maybe 4, but it takes a lot of planning. So what we want to make sure to focus on is teamwork and unification among the youth. When we first start off, we have an introduction of whatever culture that we're doing. We're going to have a check-in activity, whether it be a game, coloring, and maybe they're making a poster. They're going to do their survey, make their name tags from, say, 9:10 to 9:25. We learned about Mexico, where we had a little Mexico booklet where we had just general facts about Mexico that they could also color. And then we learned about Mexican animals, and not that they're different, but just the names in Spanish and English. And then from 9:25 to 10:10, we broke into teams and they created their team names and they were making team posters, and then they were all supposed to make a team chant, but that never got off the ground. From 10:10 to 10:20, we had a snack time, and then from 10:20 to 10:30, we had our bathroom break. So because we use the consulate and we're in the art gallery of the consulate, we want to make sure, because it's a public place, that all the kids stay in a group and that they're with staff or volunteers when leaving the area as much as possible. So we had scheduled bathroom breaks where all the kids went, and then we cleared out the bathrooms, both men's and women's, and then let the kids go. And then we lined them back up and brought them back over. And it wasn't a very far walk. It was just, it's open to the public, and we wanted to keep them safe. So from 10:30 to 10:40, we would do another game, a historical Mexican game. So on this is one of our week one. We did alto or stop, or like stop and go, using Mexican state names. And then from 10:45 to 11:45, we did a craft. On this particular Monday, we did the Mexican flag with the little tissue paper. And some kids, kids are going to be kids. They just laid out the tissue paper. Some of them colored it. Some of them were very precise and wanted it to be perfect. So we gave them time to do whatever they needed to do. From 11:45 to 12, we had our Spiro soccer mat out, or Loteria, or we did just let them color, finish up their craft. And then on Fridays, we would do our exit survey. Now, the difference is this last summer, after 12, we would have our kids, or the staff meaning the 4-H staff, cook a meal, and that would be their lunch. So we decided to have them eat lunch just because parents were picking up late, and we were there anyway. So we decided that if we feed them, they wouldn't be as cranky, and it would kind of help them get their energy out going from place to place. So they would make things like tortillas or quesadillas. We had them cut up some pico de gallo. We did have some parents that helped prepare food, and then we would just call them into the kitchen and help serve. So that first day I mentioned was our opening day for camp, and after that we would do whatever introductory activity that we had, or check-in activity, whether it be, like I said, like a state coloring page or an animal coloring page, and then we'd have our presentation for what we were learning. After the presentation, we would do a craft, and then again, snack time with a bathroom break. And then instead of always having a game, we might switch it up with a guest speaker or a presentation from somebody in the community. And then we'd follow it up with another craft, followed by a reset time with a game or coloring, and then we would do lunch. Now, on our last day camp, this year, we decided we were going to culminate all of the activities from the guest speakers and things that we had learned during our day camp. And we had the kids do a talent show. Some of them sang, some of them danced. We had one little boy who loved math, and his whole presentation was on adding and subtracting at his grade level. I think he was in first grade. And he was just like, okay, what is 1 + 1? And they would all say 2. It was so cute. Anyway, so then the one thing I do want to point out is that our last day, that the parents were there the entire day. They sat, they watched the kids, they did their performances. We all ate, we had a potluck. And then after that, the consulate staff came out and we gave each kid a participation certificate to show that they had completed the summer camp. And then they got to take a picture in front of the Mexican and American flags and the consulate sign. And then they took a picture with all the staff. So they took a group picture, and then some of them had pictures with just the individual, either child or sibling sets with the staff. Are there any questions? I know that was a lot of information all at once. Okay. And if anybody has any questions, I am here.
Thank you, Emily. If anybody wants, you can feel free to unmute your mic and or pop into chat or anything, any questions you have. I am going to put in it's going to take us some time to get the resources up on the website that has all of Emily's session today. Eventually we will, with the holidays, it'll take me a little long to alter the video to get it to the accessibility needs that we need to do. But it usually takes me about a month. It might take me a little longer, but I want you to have access to the folder where the resources that Emily used today were, and we'll be adding to those as well.
Image shows QR code that links to the webinar's online evaluation. This evaluation is also linked on the website.
So there is a 2-minute evaluation. I'm going to pop a link in the chat. This will also be up. You can use your QR code. And we'd love to hear from you. Just like a perfect cup of coffee, your feedback helps us get just the right blend. So please take the 2 minutes to answer a few quick questions in our survey. And not only will help us as we're continuing to move forward with these bi-monthly webinars, but it'll also be an opportunity for me to give Emily specific feedback. And so yes, there's the link to that as well.
Screen shows image of Scott Motti, the webinar's producer, along with his contact email.
If along the way you have any questions about the webinar series, or maybe you would like to present, feel free to take my information down and reach out to me personally. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful evening then.